Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm Indy, and today we're going to review Rimworld Console Edition. Picture this. You become stranded on a planet and time is against you. It's a race to survive, and every decision can lead down a path to certain death. This in a nutshell is Rimworld. Starting off, you can decide on different levels of difficulty and how you want the story to play out. It ranges from a stroll in the park to holy crap, what in the world is going on? I decided to take most of my runs somewhere in the middle of all of that. You know, sort of, okay, I have a chance, but crazy things will get thrown at me from time to time. You then choose on the world map where you want to begin, but you have to be careful because you don't want to move in too close by those pesky hostiles. You can also choose from a list of different characters that have different stats as well. If you're taking more than one colonist, not flying solo, then you might want to take a well-rounded group with you. For instance, someone might be proficient in harvesting, yet really bad at combat, while another might be awesome at combat but can't do anything else. You can basically refresh these characters in the beginning until you find the ones you like, but I wouldn't spend all day worried about going and refreshing them. Find some ones you like and move on. Now, my first few runs ended rather abruptly. I wasn't prepared for how brutal things can be early on in this game. You're not just trying to build a base of operations and gather a little bit of food. No, think of it more like people management more than anything else. You're going to be constantly trying to keep this almost teenage-like colony full of teenage-like colonists happy. If they don't like their living arrangements, they tend to get moody, don't give them enough recreation time, and the attitude starts to build. Work them too hard and make them miss a few meals, and guess what? It's starting to get to a boiling point. Add it all together, and they throw a full-on temper tantrum. When this occurs, you will not be able to control them anymore, and it's either ride it out, ride out their little fit throwing and hope they don't do too much harm, or try to lock them up, and that's if you have a jail built. You see what I'm saying? You get the picture? So, my first few runs, I neglected my colonists, and they didn't want to do squat for me. Before I knew it, they were wandering off like fools and mad as hell. It was a disaster. Then came the death by raiders. Oh yes, every so often your base is going to get raided. And you can set your colonists to guard and fight these raiders, but you better have weapons and you better have something to heal them with. I did not, so I died. Now all of this is happening before I can even really learn how to play the game. Arming yourself and base defense is a big deal, but what's even more important is managing your resources. See, I made a huge mistake on one of my more successful runs. Instead of just waiting to see what kind of resources I would need throughout the game, I just built everything and anything I could get my hands on. You obviously start with, walls, and then you can make a few benches and stoves early on. Of course, everyone needs a bed, and certain areas can be designated for storage. What I failed to realize was that I needed to be a little bit more selective with what I was building and the material I was using. It's very important not to use up the resources that might be in little supply in the area that you're in. I did this, and it basically put me at a standstill for a long time. Now you'll get, world events that you can decide to hitch up your caravan and go forth to find riches. But for the most part, they are very, very dangerous, especially very early on in the game. You can also visit nearby settlements, but it's always a risk. Either way, knowing what resources you have can be made easier by pinning them to your screen so you can look up in the corner and see them. I built kind of just was shocked when I finally figured this out. I was like, oh my god, why haven't I been doing this? The involvement level of Rimworld is actually pretty insane. You can assign each colonist tasks, and I wouldn't worry too much early on about them, if one dies or gets kidnapped by pirates. And yes, that is a thing. There is so much to do in this game. You can assign a colonist to hunt or haul things, chop down trees, or harvest plants. Of course, someone is going to need to cook, and you're going to need a builder. All this can be done from one screen, and you can even list them in the importance to try and keep them on task. I'm just gonna say this, good luck though keeping them on task. I found myself overriding them all the time to get them to do the other tasks that I wanted them to do. I mean, it's a thing, we just didn't manage ourselves very well. And if you feel a little overwhelmed right now, it's okay. So was I at this point. You never stop learning new things here, even 20 to 30 hours into the game. I mean, trust me, I have a lot more hours than that going. And no, I haven't beaten the game yet, because the ultimate goal is to build a spaceship and escape the planet. And holy smokes, I'm too busy raising animals and researching stuff and trying to survive. While my researcher has basically unlocked everything I need in those regards, she's usually bored all the time now. However, I lack the necessary components to build the required items I need to leave the planet. So, I'm stuck fighting and searching. This has, though, allowed me to learn more things, such as taking care of animals, making armor, laying carpet, planting crops, and, dying from uncovering ancient advanced tombs full of hellacious beads. Advanced civilizations, as I think they called it. Yeah, you never know what you're going to get thrown at you in Rimworld. Speaking of that, it's really crazy how this game does you. I mean, at one point during a very good run, something really bonkers happened to me. And it just so happened that two of my best colonists, one was Brains, which I call that because, you can name your colonists, but I named her that after my wife because she's very intelligent, and I needed someone with those stats, the intelligence stats. This character's intelligence was through the roof, so she did all my research for me. Well, she was standing there at her bench doing her thing, and apparently Gummy was walking by, which, by the way, I named after my son. But anyways, so he came by, and there was an altercation. Now, I don't know what was said, but something happened. It was bad enough. Something was said, and it was bad enough for Brains to bludgeon Gummy to death. Of course, I had to tell my wife that she had just bludgeoned our son to death in a video game, and her reaction was about what you would expect. That's the curveballs that this game throws at you. While you're constantly trying to put out fires, you are literally trying to put out fires, because electrical fires get started. So, your colonists can get sick from all sorts of things. If you don't keep a clean space, it can happen, and then, boom, sick bed. An animal can attack them, and then boom, sick bed. And they can get food poisoning, and then boom, sick bed. And then they can get attacked by a raider and sick bed. They can catch malaria and then, sick bed. It's just, it's just trying, I'm just trying to grow some cotton, man, so I can lay carpet, so Rick won't be mad that Brains has a nicer room than everyone else. Now I know this review has been a little chaotic and all over the place, but that's kind of how this game is. you can manage everything in an orderly fashion, but you can also not, and then bad things can happen, because that's just how it is. It's chaos. I mean, you can make guns, explosives, armor, casual wear, air conditioning, heaters, turrets, traps, power supplies, a bunch of different foods, crops, travel pods, and so on. And you know, the cooking thing. Man, I messed that up. Nobody could cook on my team. I was cooking simple meals for the majority of the time playing this game. I mean, that sucks when you're trying to keep everyone fed. Your colonists can also get better with their stats though. I mean, if they focus on one area, they can actually get better in those areas. My researcher, for instance, was a world-renowned master at her craft. And that's because the only thing she did was research. No cooking, no cleaning or hauling things, just researching, and that's it with that particular colonist. If that doesn't take the cake, then how about having an alcoholic in your group? Guess what? Yeah, that happened to me as well. So of course, you can brew beer, or you can cook up some drugs if you want. You actually can't do that. You gotta watch out though. You gotta watch out, because they will get addicted to these things. I mean, seriously though, I never made the whole drug making bench because it just seemed unnecessary. Look, I'm not gonna have a whole bunch of druggies running around addicted on drugs. But this game really did surprise me with that, and how involved it was with that kind of stuff. I mean, it's as if the Sims and Prison Architect had a baby, and then fed that baby speed pills, and then taught it management courses for like 10 years straight. Now, honestly, there isn't a whole lot of negatives when it comes to this game. Yes, the tutorial could have been a tad more in-depth. I mean, seriously, you're going to need it to be more in-depth. Also, I didn't like how you would set your colonists to attack, drag them to guard, have a weapon in hand, and then they refuse to attack an enemy. That got me killed several times. I also don't like the fact that I'm spending hours at almost a standstill because I'm lacking components now. Like, no trader has them, and I can't find them anywhere. It's probably like more of a me problem though, because of what I did earlier in the game. I did have a couple of glitches in the game, where like the menu screen wouldn't close, it just kind of like stuck to the screen. But other than that, everything ran pretty smooth. I mean, as far as the game runs, it ran pretty smooth. I also heard that the UI is way better than the PC version, so I had to jump over and check it out, and I have to say, it is. It's better. Rimworld kind of offers a story for you, but it's nothing substantial. You're not going to get much there. It just throws some world events at you and stuff like that. The game is pretty much like managing daily tasks and trying to keep your colonists from killing each other. And all I can say is, good luck. So, if you've played any type of sim game, something like, Prison Architect, then you have an idea of what you're getting into. However, this game is insanely detailed when it comes to what you can do. The fact you can build a travel pod so you can travel the world map faster is just so awesome. I also loved that you could just hitch up your caravan and travel to other points on the map. Seeing moments like one of my colonists locked themselves in their room because they snapped, and guess what? It was frustrating, but it was also hilarious at the same time. Knowing that these moments, something can go wrong, and I had to be prepared, it kept me motivated to stay on my tasks and pay attention to my colonists. Having to deal with colonists in this fashion, just for real. I had this colonist that had a permanent injury because he got shot in the freaking eye. I mean, come on. He complained a lot, but it was for a good reason. Also, it was so dang funny to go read like the transcripts of the colonists having actual conversations. Like they talk to each other, and you can go and read and see what they said. They fall in love with each other. They hate each other. Like I said, it's people managing. And a little bonus tidbit, my wife, she married a dude in the game, so I had to go in and change his name to me. Yes, my wife said that I'm a little ridiculous, but I don't care. So what? But that's Rimworld. You know, adjusting on the fly, experiencing things that you didn't think could happen. The game isn't without faults, but they are very small compared to like the overall fun that I had playing this game. It's a difficult game. It's fun. And I loved it. I loved every single disastrous moment. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. And yeah, this game was really cool. If you like the sim type games like this, then you're gonna very much enjoy this game. I reviewed it on my PS4 Pro, and you should definitely check it out. Like I said, if you like these kind of games. Other than that, as always, Indian, bruh.